Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Topic, and I think it's worth discussing. That guy right there, John Calipari. So John Calipari, listen, we already know successful first year. And I think, the big thing that every Arkansas fan is waiting for is basically what's going on with Carter Knox. And so we will get to it in a minute. But why I want to talk John Calipari right now is because he went on the road this week as part of, the coaches' caravans that they do this time of year. And I don't know if every school is still doing them, but it's basically, hey, we're going to take the coaches, we're going to get to some places that maybe we don't get to on a regular basis. And so Calipari had, I thought, a couple very interesting updates from throughout the process. He talked about the fact that Arkansas itself is trying to schedule a charity exhibition. We were just talking about the Kentucky-Purdue charity exhibition. John Calipari said, we're trying to play Memphis at Memphis. That would be a great early season, preseason, exhibition test. I mean, listen, you guys and girls that are listening to this probably know the history and of the rivalry better. I know that the rivalry is no more. They used to play annually. They don't anymore. I believe John Calipari at Memphis may have had something to do with that, but I love that. Some other interesting updates from throughout from throughout the off season, including, by the way, roster construction. And that's what I want to dive into now, because to me, I think there's a very interesting conversation that I think has in many ways divided the Arkansas fan base a little bit. And I don't think it's like a toxic divided, but I do think it is a conversation that Arkansas fans are having about next year's team. By the way, I should mention, John Calipari did get a commitment from 2026, top 25 or so prospect JJ Andrews on Thursday evening, Arkansas native. I think that is a great fit. Probably a 2 or 3 year player with NBA upside. So that is a great fit. But I don't want to focus on the 2026, 2027 roster. By the way, it's crazy that 18 months from now, it's going to be 2027. Another conversation for another day. What I do want to talk about is next year's team, because I think there's a conversation. Even if you get Carter Knox back, should that be the last big piece of your roster? Or do you need like one more guy? You got some really nice pieces, but do you need one more guy to fill out the roster on top of the guys that you already have? John Calipari addressed that this week while he was on the road.
Well, it'll play out. I like what we have. I like where we stand right now. We have the ability to do more if we choose. Sometimes less is more. Like last year, we ended up playing 6 guys, 7 guys, and all of a sudden we're as good as anybody in the country. So we'll see how it plays.
Sometimes less is more. I will say this, that there's a big debate going on in the Arkansas fan base right now. Do you add a player? Do you not? Even if Carter Knox comes back, John Calipari does not sound like a man that is planning on adding anybody else. And so let's dive into the conversation. Should you add somebody? Should you not? And I'll just tell you exactly how I feel right now. I actually think Arkansas should not add another piece, assuming Carter Knox comes back. They essentially have like 10 playable players. I think you have to add, back-end depth for practice purposes. But in terms of like a star difference maker, I actually think they should probably stay put with where they are. And it's funny. I know what people are going to say. Oh, Torres, they need this and they need that. And listen, I'm not here to say they're a perfect team. There is, I promise you, I look at these rosters all day. There's no perfect team in college basketball going into next year. Houston isn't perfect. Purdue's not perfect. Whoever. St. John's isn't perfect. UConn's not perfect. There's no perfect team. And so, yeah, if Calipari was like, look, we need to add a little bit more shooting, I would support that. If I think maybe another, they have 3 primary ball handlers, but maybe just like a veteran guard just to kind of help out the young guys. You know how like NBA teams keep like a Udonis Haslem or, whoever, a Juwan Howard on their roster years after they really are good enough to play because you just want that veteran presence. I wouldn't hate that. But when I look at this Arkansas roster, assuming Carter Knox comes back, that's the last time I'll say it, I kind of like where they're at. You look at the pieces that they have. They have 10 pieces right now, okay? 10 guys that if they had to play today, they would feel comfortable at least playing to some varying degree. The guards, DJ Wagner, we know about him. Darius Acuff, 5-star McDonald's All-American, who was unbelievable on the All-Star circuit. I think he could be a breakout star in college basketball. Malik Thomas, another 5-star McDonald's All-American. Really, really, really good. On the wing, you have Carter Knox, again, assuming he comes back. Billy Richmond, who I thought played very, very, very well. The other good thing about Billy Richmond, you don't want him to play point guard, but in a pinch, you can survive with him for a few possessions. So he almost gives you kind of that bonus guard. Then you have Isaiah Sealy, 4-star wing out of Arkansas from Springdale. Not a guy that you want to go to war with for 32 minutes a night, but if you need 12 from him, I think you can get by with it. And oh, by the way, in the front court, you have Trevin Brazil, who I think is maybe the most underrated player going. We saw how good he was when he was actually given playing time late in the year when Adu Thero got hurt. Then you had the two big guys out of the portal, Nick Pringle, and also on top of it, Malik Ewan as well. So those are your 10. And let's talk about why I think you should roll with those. I think you should roll with those guys because probably to get most of those guys to either come back, commit, stay committed, you probably had to have these conversations months ago, okay? And so if John Calipari had conversations with all these guys months ago, excuse me, I've been sitting here for an hour and 10 minutes already, so I'm trying to just stay limber and stay loose. But John Calipari probably had conversations with these guys already. All these guys had options. Listen, we all heard the rumors. Could DJ Wagner hit the portal? Could Billy Richmond hit the portal? If DJ Wagner came back, would one of the freshman guards decommit and go somewhere else? And they all committed to be part of this team. And if you told them that this was what the team was going to look like, then I don't think you should be adding pieces at the 11th hour. By the way, I think you're good enough to win with the pieces that you have. DJ Wagner, 30-year point guard, college basketball. He was really good late last year. Darius Acuff, Malik Thomas are going to be really good. Carter Knox I think, could make a jump into like an all-SEC type player. Billy Richmond played really well. Trevin Brazil played really well. Malik Ewan was a guy who averaged 14 and 9 in the ACC last year. So it's not like you don't have good enough pieces. It's just, do you want one more? And I don't see why you would add one this late unless something, inexplicable happened, most notably Carter Knox declaring for the draft. And so, I actually frankly don't even really get the argument. Again, if you want more shooting, okay, add an 11th guy that shot 43%, almost like Kentucky did this past year. Remember Ansley Almanor was like the 11th guy that they added at the last minute. They just said, we need more shooting off the bench. But to add a major piece, I just fundamentally disagree with it. And I know what people are going to say. People are going to be like, well, it's competition, deal with it. And I'm like, okay, I get that. But if promises were made, like, by the way, there's going to be enough competition with probably 7 to 8 guys on that roster that can play in the NBA someday. Maybe it's not 7, maybe it's 5, but you get the point. There's going to be plenty of competition already. And if you want to add depth pieces for practice, that's one thing. But so we're supposed to kick DJ Wagner to the bench after he helped you to the NCAA tournament for competition? We're supposed to tell Trevin Brazil go back to the bench because of competition? We're supposed to tell Darius Acuff, hey, excuse me, your career, you're entrusting us with your career. You're going to be a one and done if things go right. But hey, competition, I'm sorry. Competition makes sense. Yeah, competition's great in JV high school football when you're trying to weed out bad guys, players that don't want to be there. But when it's real life, competition makes sense sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't. When you're dating a girl and you're ready to propose, you don't want to find out that there's competition from the guy she's working with. You just want to know that if I buy this ring, she's going to say yes, and I don't got to worry about it. Is that a little bit extreme of an example? Maybe, but you get the point that I'm trying to make. And so I don't buy the competition thing. I know what people say, oh, what about the injuries? Well, listen, they had injuries last year, and as Cal said, they played better when the bench got shorter. Injuries were not the reason that they struggled last year. Injuries were the reason they had success. So I could go on and on. But I stand with Cal. Now, the big caveat is if Carter Knox does not come back. Now, if Carter Knox does not come back, you absolutely have to add a piece. Obviously, at that point, we start talking about some of the guys that we've talked about throughout the show. Would it be Jameer Watkins from Florida State? Could you do Boogie Flan? Could you get Boogie Flan back? I think there's only one ball for all those guys. By the way, I see people like, oh, Boogie Flan played Cal. Nobody played anybody. Stop it. Boogie Flan was always planning to go pro. When he wasn't, he was going to get good money, but it shouldn't be at Arkansas. The best version of Boogie Flan cannot coexist with the guys on this team. So don't tell me, oh, Cal got played by. No, he didn't. Stop. But I don't think it'd be Boogie Flan. But could it be Jameer Watkins? I will tell you this. I know it for a fact. Cal's poked around on some reclassification candidates just in case Carter Knox does not come back. So we'll see what happens. I don't know exactly per se, but I do know that, why did I say I don't know per se? I do know. I know that he's poked around on reclassification candidates. I'm sure he has his finger on the pulse on guys if Carter Knox leaves. And if Carter Knox leaves, then we have that conversation. But if Carter Knox comes back, I like the 10 he's got. I would add some practice players, but I wouldn't go too heavy outside of that. All right, really quickly, we've gone a long time here. People are asking me, did he, let's see here. Did you mention JJ Andrews? JJ Andrews looks like a 2 to 3 year guy. Gump, did you mention JJ Andrews? Listen, I'll be real. With JJ Andrews, I know the 2026 class, but I'm still trying to figure out this whole portal thing and top 25s. But to me, super elite upside athlete, 2 to 3 year player that could be an NBA player. But I think here's the most important thing. He's an Arkansas guy. And so when you're taking freshmen, and you're taking freshmen that aren't going to play, I think you always have to be careful about taking too many. I'm not saying JJ Andrews isn't going to play. I'm just saying he's probably not. If he's your best player, that could be problematic. If he's your 7th guy, that's great. And so, but if you're taking freshmen that aren't going to be superstars, that aren't going to be Cooper Flag, that aren't going to be AJ DeBonsa, Cam Boozer, et cetera, then guess what? What you need to do is make sure to take players that you think that you can retain year over year. Best way to do it, somebody with ties to the university. Taking a kid whose dad played football, who's from Arkansas, who grew up in Little Rock, that is a great, great, great kid to have in the program because, again, maybe he's your 6th or 7th man as a freshman, and then as a sophomore, which we're now talking about 2028, which is just sounds crazy to me. At that point, you're in a situation where, he's maybe a star, he's maybe an NBA player. By the way, for people who don't know who JJ Andrews is, 4-ish, 5-star-ish 2026 kid. I don't want to oversell it. He's a fringe top 25 guy. Some services have him as a 5, some have him as a 4, but he committed to Arkansas earlier in the day. Let's see here. Nobody, my buddy, nobody. He says Knox coming back will make or break this year's team. Yeah, I agree. Tamara says we have 8 rotation players. He will add 1 to 2 more. I don't know. By the way, oh, man, I'm going to get so crushed in the comments because I forgot to mention the kid from Lebanon. They got a 6'10" kid from Lebanon who's 20 going on 21 years old. He is a big piece of what they will be doing next year. So they actually have a 4th big guy. I don't think you need to add pieces. Like I said, you want to add one dude that plays like 8 minutes a game and shoots a bunch of threes, that's fine. They got enough guys. I don't think you go crazy adding too many more pieces from here.